Hello and welcome to Sound Off by Soundview Community Media. I'm your host, John Blaschke, and remember, this is your opportunity for your chance to be on TV. It's the community's chance to be on TV. There we go. And we have a very special guest tonight. He is a limo driver and he has a lot of great stories. He is very well versed in the limo driving world. I'm going to be interviewing him for about the first 15 minutes. After that, it's going to be call in. Anyone at home that would like to call in and ask Rob Palermo a question, here he is, Rob Palermo. So, would you mind just starting off, just telling me a bit about yourself, Rob?
Well, thank you very much for having me, of course.
Thank you for being here.
I was born in Stamford, Connecticut in the ripe old age of year of 1948. I did a lot of different things. I went to 2 or 3 years of college and decided, well, my girlfriend's traveling across the country, maybe I should follow her. So I did. I traveled across the country. And prior to that, I did a lot of restaurant business. I was a bartender, I was the maitre d', I was the assistant manager. Well, something came up in an advertisement for an assistant manager for a disco. I said, well, I can fake this for a while. So I offered my services and became an assistant manager of this disco. This was back in 1979. It was fun. It was, well, quite frankly, it's one of the best jobs I've ever had. I couldn't wait to get to work. It gets tiring, but it's wonderful.
Yeah, especially working at night.
At night, yeah.
Sleep all day, party all night.
Yeah, rock and roll. And it was funny. I got my 8 hours of sleep, but out of a different chunk of the day than more normal people. And I did that for about 2 years, and then I became general manager. And then it became pretty hectic and tiring and so forth and so on. And it tends to beat you up. I don't care how much you're having fun, you need to slow down for a little bit. And then I took some time off, about a year, and I entered into the limousine people business. Because my friends would say, look, Robin, your first job, you got the stars drunk, and your second job, you drove them home. I said, pretty good. So I started with some of the smaller companies to get my feet wet. And I tell you, the smaller companies were, well, they wanted you to be their slave, and it was just not my thing. Like you'd work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday's your paycheck. So I said, well, Friday, it's payday. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I have an 8 o'clock in the morning flight, pickup. He said, yeah, you got to be there. But I said, it's payday. He said, but it's 6 o'clock in the morning, but it's also payday on 6 o'clock in the morning. So I want my pay. Well, there's nobody here to pay you now. I said, well, we got 45 minutes before I'm supposed to be at this thing. I think somebody should go and ATM it, get a little cash, make me happy.
Got to pay for gas.
Yeah, got to pay for gas. So they did it. They got me some money, and I went and cashed it the next day. And I said, I want the rest of the money. And he gave me the rest of the money, and I quit. I can't do that. I can't work 7 days a week, 6 days a week for no pay. It's just not in me. So I said, I wish you the best of luck, and off I went to a bigger company.
About what year did you start limo driving?
About 1984, maybe, 83, 84. And interesting enough, on the limousine driving, I saved all my slips. Like this, you can't see this, but it's a pay stub from 1990. Nobody saves their stubs. They get paid. They go, well, I got paid.
Money
Throw
in the
it away.
bank account.
Throw it away. I said, someday I'm going to write a story about that. And I saved them and saved them and saved them and saved them. I have tons.
Would you say that story starts off at the nightclub in the Pacific Palisades?
Oh, it started me off. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful time. I had 2 people from Connecticut. George Stevens came out to visit me, and Liz Daniels came out to visit me from Stanford, and they said, oh, this is great. I put them up in the hotel, or some motel. The motel was interesting. It was a building that was built in 1930s by a restaurant, not a restaurant, a railroad magnate person. He wanted a place for the railroad to go by and stop.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a hotel. It was there from 1930s. Used to be Carl's by the Sea. But fortunately or unfortunately, in the case fortunately, nobody was in it at the time, and there was a mudslide, and it knocked it right down. But nobody got hurt. Nobody got hurt.
Acts of God, I guess.
Acts of God. I mean, I could have been up, never mind.
Would you mind telling us about some of the people that you've driven before? I've heard that there's some famous comedians that you've driven around.
Yes, I drove Mr. Don Rickles.
Okay.
Now, Don Rickles, as you may know or may not, he was a type of a comedian that would come out and ad-lib. And sometimes he'd insult you. Like he used to say to the guy in the front row, "Is that your wife?" "Oh, God." And he'd do that sort of thing. And it went over okay. People understood it.
Not like today, they get it's a joke.
They don't like those jokes anymore.
Mm.
So one time I picked up Don. No, actually there was two times. One time I picked him up from, he was coming in from his Vegas show, and he had all his clothes. So he knows me, and he says, "Rob, do you have a van? I have all my clothes for the show." I said, "No, all I got is a stretch." He said, "Will we fit?" I said, "Well, let me ask you a couple questions. Do these clothes, they have to be on hangers and perfect?" He said, "No, you can put them in a ball. I don't care what you do with them." So he drives with a fellow man, his Friday man, I don't know what you call him. So we sat him up front, we stuffed him with clothes. We sat down in the back and stuffed clothes in there. We stuffed clothes in the trunk of the car. And I said, "You okay, Don?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm okay. The clothes are all over me." I said, "All right, just be quiet. We'll be home in 10 minutes. So in a limousine, if you've been in a limousine, there is a radio there, but sometimes it's up here. And it's little. And you put your fat little fingers up there and it goes. So I pull over and I said, "Don, don't touch the radio." I said, "You'll be home in 10 minutes. I pulled over 3 times. Finally, he said, "I'll be a good boy." I said, "Hum to yourself. You know any songs? Hum to yourself. We'll be home." We take him home. We take him home first. Don was never a big tipper. He would say, "Put 20% on the tip for gratuity." The second one was, I got called and I was told I'm picking up Don Rickles at his house. Okay, and we're going to the Greek Theater. Now, the Greek Theater is an outside theater where they have wonderful concerts. And he's opening for Frank Sinatra.
Okay.
I was in awe. I would have paid Don to do this. Only kidding. So I pick him up, and as soon as the people that are doing the Greek, they realize, "Oh, I'm driving, the water's part," and I go right in. Well, I'm backstage, and he says, "Yeah, come backstage, and if I need something, you're right there." I said, "Okay." So who walks in but a famous Hollywood agent named Jack Gilardi. Jack Gilardi was a beautiful human being. He was married to Annette Funicello, one of the original Mouseketeers. But Jack says hello to me first, because I haven't seen him in a long time. He puts his hand to me. He says, "Rob, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a long time." I said, "Jack." Jack says, "You're driving the big stars." I said, "No bigger than you, Jack." And Rickles goes off. He goes, "What? It's no bigger than me. I'm the star. What are you? You made your money off me." He goes on and on and on. So finally, Jack says to Don, "So you know Rob?" And Don Rickles said, "One of the best. One of the best." And it was great. Jack goes on his way. So I thought there was a little bit of a lull, and I thought we could tell John a joke. He didn't want to hear it. He said, "No, you keep your jokes." And then at the end of the show, we go out for drinks. Don, Sinatra, everybody. So I said, "Do I have time to go get something to eat?" He says, "Yeah, go get something to eat." And I said, "You can't take time on the driver. I mean, you time away from your client, it backfires. It always gets you. So you go get something and you bring it back. So I came back and I said to Frank's driver, "You're driving Sinatra?" He goes, "Yes, sir." I said, "Where should I put my car?" He said, "Put it there." I said, "But you're driving Sinatra. You should put it there. That means your car would be first." He goes, "He knows where I am." All right. So a while passes and Frank and Barbara start coming out. I'm not standing by my car. Frank knows he has a black driver, not a white driver, but I'm not standing, but the cars are identical.
Yeah.
So Frank and Barbara are getting back in my car. Oh my God. So the Rickles comes out, he says, "Rob, is that my car?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What's Frank doing in my car?" I said, "I don't know. Maybe you're going out somewhere." And you know how he talked about ethnic, Don Rickles? He goes, "The only place this Jew is going is home to sleep." Okay. A minute later, Don goes into his act as far as some of the people that are in the parking lot. He goes, "Robert," and I have to quote the exact, he said, "What's that guinea bastard doing in my car?" Frank stirs a little bit, didn't quite hear him. He says it again. He has the guts to say it again. "What's that guinea bastard doing in my car?" With that, Frank pops up. He goes, "What? What are we doing in his car?" So we get in my car. So Don comes to me and says, "Quick, let's get out of here." I said, "Why?" If Frank thinks, or kind of thinks, he remembers what I said to him, I'm in deep shit. Let's get out of here. So we go to Don's house. And he said, "Rob, that was a great night. Put 20% on the tip for gratuity." So we did. The other gentleman that I drove was a jewel by the name of Johnny Cash.
Sorry, I actually meant to ask you a question before you go into the next story. So I mean, like personally, I wouldn't be the one to want to kick Frank Sinatra out of my car. So.
No, I wouldn't either. No.
But we actually had a brief video of Don Rickles, if we wouldn't mind playing that.
Hey, look, I know you're going to do another number with the band because I know you got a recording session tonight, and really, on behalf. Here goes the evening.
Gee, you look
Hello.
good, Don.
Well, that's it for me. Why don't you guys get with the band? Hey, Frank, it's good to see you. I just was hanging around in the hall, and they said Frank Sinatra's here, and I've never met him,
Never mind.
And I get the chills.
You'll excuse us, won't you?
Certainly.
Marco Mangananzo was hurt.
Marco Mangananzo.
Fambino Bombazzo, 2 bullets in the head Thursday.
Sorry for interrupting you before.
That's quite all right.
Would you actually mind telling us the Johnny Cash story now?
Johnny Cash, I picked him up at the airport, grabbed his carry-on bags. On the way to baggage claim, which he's not going to get his bags, he lights a cigarette. He smokes a cigarette in LAX, inside an almost no smoking state, but it's Johnny Cash. I drive him to a few places. I take him to the Beverly Hills Hotel first, help him in with his bags, and then he comes out and he goes, "Hi, I'm Johnny. I want you back here in 3 hours." I said, "I'll be right here." Then I took him to the store, and then he asked me if I would drive him for the next 3 days. He was there to perform a charity event way out in the North Valley, which was super hot, but I was to take him out there. So I took him there, and I parked the car, and the promoter came up to me. He says, "You see all these vending booths here?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You eat for free, you drink for free, whatever you want is free." I was a little naive, and I said, "How are they going to know me?" He said, "Well, son, you're the only one in a suit." So I went to a couple of the booths. I tried to tip them. They said, no. The tip is you driving them here and safely home. What a fan base. And I had something to eat. I couldn't spend my money. It was nothing. They asked me how he was. They didn't ask me any derogatory anything because he knows he's the best. He's the best. So I drove him back to home, and then he says, "Tomorrow morning you pick me up at 11, and we'll go to the airport." So we start driving to the airport, and he says, Ron, what's your last name? I said, Johnny, it's Rob Palermo. And he said, a man's name is important. You should have told me. I wanted to say, oh yeah, like a boy named Sue, but I didn't do that. So I told him my name is Rob Palermo, and I spelled it out for him. A few minutes later, I get a tap on the shoulder, and his son hands me a check made out to me for $300. That would be $100 a day extra. That was quite a bit of money back in 1990. So I looked at the check and I said, Johnny, he's right behind me. Now here I am talking to Johnny Cash. I mean, I'm in awe. Johnny, he says, yes, Rob. I said, that's the kind of autograph I like. He laughs, he goes, me too, son, me too. Well, what I did, I Xeroxed that check, I cashed it, and now it's hanging on my living room wall. And when I do a stage performance, I blew the check up to 5 feet. And I hold the check up so they can see, made out to Rob Palermo, signed Johnny Cash. And interesting enough, it was in August of 1990. He didn't sign the check. I mean, he signed the check, he didn't date the check. He put in the day, the month, but not the year. Mm. And I cashed it. And it was an enjoyable business. You got to be on time. You have to speak when spoken to. That celebrity in there doesn't want their picture taken, doesn't want the autograph, doesn't want anything, just wants to go to point B to point B and point A to point B, and that's it.
Pretty straightforward business.
Straightforward business. I did it for, 6, 7, 8 years. And then I decided to come back to Connecticut to meet you.
And here you are telling your story.
Here I am telling my
appreciate
stories.
that greatly.
But
I would just like to let everyone know the phone lines are now open. If you have a question for Rob, feel welcome to call. I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you, answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you.
But in the meantime, I've always wondered, has there ever been a time where there was someone like in the back that like maybe you wanted to like pull like that divider down, but you didn't listen to what they were saying or like have a talk to them?
Well, I'll tell you a secret about the limousine business, okay? No matter what divider you put up, if you talk in a tone where you're normally like this, the driver can hear you. If you put the radio on, he can't hear you. If you're talking and all of a sudden you decide to stand up in the moonroof, without him seeing you stand up, your voice changes. He can see you. I've had to pull over in Beverly Hills and let 5 adults out to stand on the curb because I told them the engine was starting to smell funny. And then I backed up, the hood went down like this, I went forward, the door shut, and I drove home. I left them on the curb. Because I get $500 fine for letting them get up there and risk their lives. But I'll tell you about somebody that I was, you ever heard of the Traveling Wilburys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Roy Orbison, George Harrison.
Yes,
and,
I was
Tom
driving
Petty.
Jeff Lynne.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know music. I knew music to listen to it, but to say what album and he came to Fly By Night, I don't know all that stuff. So there's Jeff Lynne, George Harrison, Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, sitting at the table having a Heineken. And Jeff Lynne says, Rob, why don't you come over? I was like, I'm scared. Now, in hindsight, the last thing they'll ever want to talk about is music. They want me to be the diversion. Come on over, we'll talk about him.
Talk about a beer.
Yeah, talk about a driver. I didn't sit down with him. Can you imagine?
Okay.
You're George Harrison, you're Tom Petty, you're Bob Dylan, you're Jeff Lynne, and I'm sitting there talking to you like we're in the backyard flipping a hamburger. But I couldn't do it.
That's something.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do if I were in your shoes there. I think I would take the beer.
I regretted it, and I've tried to get in touch with Jeff Lynne to tell him. Oh, another thing, on the radio, on the TV, I see John McEnroe making some kind of commercial for a voiceover. Have you seen that yet?
I haven't.
Well, John McEnroe is known in the Hollywood industry as far as driving a limousine as the cheapest bastard in the world.
Did you ever
Yes.
to get him?
Yeah. And I swore in front of him, and he gave me $5. I went back. Yeah, it was beautiful. I went back to the group, and they were washing the cars, and they're playing poker over here, and they're having pizza over here. And I said, somebody says, "How's El Cheapo Tenniso?" I said, "It gave me $5." Everything stopped. They all came to me and said, "I've been driving him 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years. He never gave me a dime." I told him the story. He says, "Oh, you said the F word in front of him." I said, "Yeah, a guy cut me off, and I yelled at him." And he was on the phone. He goes, "Right on." He tipped me $5.
I guess he didn't like crappy drivers.
No, and he loved to say the F word. Remember?
Not on
that?
here, though.
No, not on here. No,
Appreciate that.
No. But all in all, it was I can truly say I'm 73. I never had a job I didn't like. I always try to bring a little happiness to the plate. I get mad, but it's got to be really something passionate, mad.
So besides the two that you already mentioned, what was one of your favorite? No, I'll say what was your craziest limo drive that you ever had to partake
I drove
in?
a gentleman from the Middle East, and it was raining. And as I went to get him, I don't know what I'm going to call it, and I can make a slur, but I don't. Let's call him Manuel, okay? When the guys, they said, "Rob, you're driving manual?" "Oh, Jesus." He said, "Oh, God, the police are going to come." They didn't want me to drive manual because he wanted a slave. He didn't want to drive. He was going to pick up a prostitute. This was already set up. He had him go to the store and get all these stuffed animals, and then we went to get flowers. And then, flowers was second, then stuffed animals, and then we got some kind of other thing. And then he wanted me to get flowers for the girl. And I'm standing there with an umbrella, holding the umbrella while he's doing the flowers. I said,
"Oh my God."
I said, "Pal, is this going to be long?" I went like this. Here's the umbrella. I'm getting soaked. I'll be in the car. So he didn't like that. And then they went to a restaurant on top of Hollywood Hills, and I held the umbrella so they wouldn't get wet. Him and Mohammed and Mindy, or Buffy, I don't know what her name was. And we go, and then they left the. I said, "Where's the umbrella?" He goes, "It's in the car. It's in there. It's in there." I said, "Well, go get in there." "No, go." Okay. So he dropped Buffy off, and then he went to some house in the valley. So because of his different speaking English and me wanting to get out of there, I heard, "We're done for the night. See you later, alligator." So as soon as I dropped him off, I went shot back to the hotel. And he goes, "Where's Mohammed? He's asking for you." I said, "Oh, really?" He said he was done for the night, so I took off. So they sent somebody else to pick up Mohammed.
Would you say that was the worst experience
Yes.
that you had as a limo driver?
Yeah. One of the best was Goldie Hawn.
Goldie Hawn, wow, no kidding.
Goldie Hawn.
What was that?
Goldie Hawn, I picked him up to go to and she was dressed to the nines. As she got in the car, in the limo, her left breast popped out. So Kurt Russell's standing here, and I'm here. He says, "Rob, can you see, honey? Can you see, honey?" She goes, "No, not really. The sun's in my eyes." Because Rob can see, can't you? And I said, "Yeah, and I can't wait to let you in on the other side when we go home." Now, that just came out. I didn't plan that. I just tried to stuff it back in my mouth, but it came out. Luckily, they laughed. She goes, "Sure, put this thing back in there." They laughed. And at the end of the ride, they gave me a $100 tip.
Huh, they must have thought you were funny.
Yeah. They said, "Rob, except for the show and I didn't get an award, we have the best time with you. Can we ask for you again?" I said, "Yes." I drove them again. We had a great time. I saw them at a place called Mort's Deli that was in Pacific Palisades. You go there for a sandwich. I was there with my girl, and there's Goldie Hawn going, "Come on over." So my girl says, "Are they waving at you?" I said, "Yeah." So I go over and I had lunch with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. Yeah, they were nice. It was very nice. I'd love to tell them that story, and they'll remember it. I swear they'll remember it. Yeah. There was a lot of goofballs. There was a lot of Alan Alda got mad at one of the drivers one time. You know, the guy from MASH.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't think he popped off pretty good.
Everyone's got a temper, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a temper. I drove. Oh God, Madonna.
Wow.
Madonna, Sean Penn. Oh, it goes on and on and on. Chris Christopherson was very nice. Prince was very nice. The entourage was always very good tippers. Never Michael Jackson, but the Jackson family. There was no money there. There was for Michael. Michael used to give the chimp the money, and he'd give it to the driver.
Huh.
The driver's name is Alfred. He's from Bridgeport. If anybody knows Alfred's last name, he lives in California. I'd love to know it and say hello to Alfred.
That's to you, Alfred.
That's to you, Alfred.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add within the last couple minutes of the show?
Well, I've been doing this for a while with the pandemic. I did a show in New Bedford, Massachusetts for 2 nights and 3 nights. It was really well received. I would like somebody to represent me, if that's a possibility, because I can't get into the casinos or anything like that. I said, I don't expect to fill 3,000 people, you know, but maybe. But on this...
Oh, we got a call here. Hi, you're on Sound Off. Hello?
Yeah.
You have a question for Rob?
Hi. You got any dirty secrets from anyone you've driven? You don't have to say who it is. It could be anonymous. Like any juicy, real, deep down, good secrets.
Diana Ross isn't a fun person.
I guess it's not much of a secret, but... Did you have something else? Another question for Rob? No. Okay.
Thank
Well,
you
enjoy the
very
rest
much.
of your evening. Speaking of, I think that's just about the rest of the time that we have, unless there's something else you wanted to add, Rob.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Rob. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Very nice.
All right, that's been Sound Off, everyone. Tune in the same time next Tuesday at 6:30, and we'll be tuning in then. See you tonight.
Good night,
Sweet
everybody.
dreams.